Have you ever felt a splinter in your mind? A sensation that the world around you is not quite right, as if the reality you touch and see is merely a painted veil hiding something far more vast and terrifyingly beautiful. You are not alone in this feeling. For thousands of years, seekers of forbidden truth have whispered of a secret history of the universe, a history that the orthodox powers tried to burn, bury, and erase. They told us of a single God, a benevolent creator, but the ancient Gnostics knew a different story. They knew that the entity worshipped by the masses was not the true source of light, but a shadow, a jealous keeper of the prison we call. Welcome, traveler, to the depths of the Enchanted archive. Today, we step beyond the veil of the material world. Many of you have heard the name Abraxas, the rooster-headed deity of duality, made famous by Carl Jung and Hermann Hesse. But Abraxas is merely the guardian of the threshold. Beyond him lies a pantheon of forgotten deities, eons of pure light, and cosmic accidents that birthed the very suffering of mankind. We are about to embark on a journey into the pleroma, the fullness of the divine, to meet the entities that truly govern the fate of your soul. Prepare yourself. We will speak the names that were meant to be forgotten. We will uncover the wisdom of the monad, the silence of Barbelo, the tragedy of Sophia, and the tyranny of the Archons. If you are ready to shatter the illusions of this world and reclaim the divine spark hidden within your chest, subscribe to the channel now. Light the flame of curiosity in the comments by writing, "I seek the forbidden light." Let us begin to understand the forgotten deities of Gnosticism. We must first unlearn everything we have been taught about the nature of God. In the beginning, before time, before space, before the very concept of existence, there was not a creator in the sense that we understand. There was only the monad. The Gnostic texts, discovered in the dusty jars of Nag Hammadi, describe the monad not as a god like Zeus or Yahweh, but as something far more profound. They call it the invisible spirit, the baithos, or the depth. Imagine an ocean of pure consciousness, infinite, calm, and silent. The monad is the one. It is not he or she. It is beyond gender, beyond personality, beyond comprehension. It is the ineffable source from which all true light flows. It does not demand worship. It does not judge. It simply is. The ancient texts say that to speak of the monad is to limit it, for language belongs to the material world, and the monad belongs to the realm of absolute silence. It is the root of the root, the thought that thinks itself. The monad, in its infinite perfection, engaged in an act of reflection. It looked into the pure water of its own light, and in that reflection, it saw itself. This act of divine self-awareness birthed the first of the great emanations, the first entity to step out of the silence. Her name is Barbelo. Barbelo is perhaps the most important and yet most obscured figure in the entire Gnostic cosmology. She is the Divine Mother, the first thought of the invisible spirit. If the monad is the silent potential, Barbelo is the womb in which that potential becomes reality. She is known as the pronoia, the forethought. She is the perfect reflection of the monad, the mirror in which the invisible becomes visible to itself. In the secret book of John, one of the most significant Gnostic Gospels, Barbelo is described with breathtaking reverence. She is the first power, the glory, the perfect eon. She requested from the invisible spirit 4 great powers to assist her: foreknowledge, incorruptibility, eternal life, and truth. The monad consented, and these powers stood before her, forming the foundation of the eternal realm known as the pleroma. The pleroma is the totality of divine powers. It is not a place like heaven with golden gates. It is a state of being, a hierarchy of light where everything is perfect, harmonious, and full. Within this pleroma, Barbelo brought forth a spark of light, the autogenes, the self-generated one, often identified with the cosmic Christ. Not the man who walked in Galilee, but the eternal principle of enlightenment that existed before the world was made. Together, the monad, Barbelo, and the autogenes brought forth other beings, known as eons. These aeons were emanations of divine attributes. They came in pairs, known as syzygies, balancing the masculine and feminine principles perfectly. There was will and eternal light. There was mind and foreknowledge. This was a realm of pure intellect and love, a symphony of light where no shadow could exist, or so it seemed. But within this perfection, a tragedy was brewing, a tragedy that would lead to the creation of the nightmare we call reality. We must now turn our gaze to the last of the eons, the youngest and most curious of them all. Her name is Sophia. Sophia means wisdom in Greek, but in the Gnostic myth, she represents a wisdom that lost its way. Sophia looked up at the monad, the unknowable Father, and felt a desperate, burning desire to know him completely. She wanted to understand the source of her own existence, but the monad is unknowable by nature. Driven by this intense passion, Sophia made a mistake that would shatter the harmony of the pleroma. She attempted to create something on her own. In the pleroma, creation is always a joint act, a union of the masculine and feminine principles, a syzygy. But Sophia acted without her consort. She acted without the consent of the invisible spirit. She tried to birth a thought into being through the sheer force of her own will. What came out of her was not a perfect eon of light. It was a monstrosity. Because her creation was born of separation and lack, it was imperfect. The ancient texts describe this being as a lion-headed serpent, a creature of chaos and darkness. Its eyes burned with a terrifying fire. Sophia, horrified by what she had birthed, cast it out of the pleroma. She hid it in a thick cloud, away from the other aeons, so that they would not see her shame. She named this creature Yaldabaoth, but he has many names: the Demiurge, Saklas the Fool, Samael, the Blind God. This moment, the birth of the Demiurge, is the pivotal point in Gnostic history. It is the moment where the spiritual world fractured. Yaldabaoth, born in darkness and isolation, did not know his mother. He did not know the pleroma. He did not know the monad. He opened his eyes and saw only the empty void of chaos surrounding him. Being possessing great power but no wisdom, he became arrogant. He shouted into the void, "I am God, and there is no other God beside me." This was the first lie ever told, a lie so profound that it became the foundation of our material universe. Sophia, watching from the veil of the cloud, heard this blasphemy and wept. Her tears, the Gnostics say, became the waters of the material world. Her sadness became the matter. Her confusion became the elements. Yaldabaoth, the false creator, began to build his own kingdom. He wanted to imitate the pleroma, but he could only create a distorted reflection. He created his own servants, the Archons, the rulers. These are the jailers of cosmic existence. The Gnostic texts list them with chilling precision. There is Athoth, with the face of a sheep, Eloio, with the face of a donkey, Astaphios, with the face of a hyena, Yao, with the face of a serpent with 7 heads, Adonan, the dragon, and Sabataios. These Archons created 7 heavens, which are not heavens of bliss, but spheres of control. They correspond to the 7 classical planets: the Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. In the Gnostic worldview, the planets are not benevolent, celestial bodies. They are the watchtowers of the prison. When a soul descends into a body, it must pass through these spheres, and at each sphere, the Archons strip the soul of its divine memory and clothe it in a layer of forgetfulness. Yaldabaoth and his Archons looked down into the watery chaos and saw a reflection of the light from above. Even though Sophia had hidden herself, a trace of her light still lingered. Yaldabaoth, captivated by this image, decided to create a being in that likeness. He said to his Archons, "Let us make man according to the image of God, and according to our likeness." They fashioned a body out of the dust of the earth, but this body was lifeless. It lay on the ground, an empty shell, immobile and cold. The Archons tried to breathe life into it, but they had no spirit to give. They were creatures of soulless matter. Sophia, watching from above, saw an opportunity to retrieve her power. She tricked Yaldabaoth. She suggested to him that he breathe his own spirit into the creature to make it wake up. Yaldabaoth, ignorant that his power actually came from his mother Sophia, breathed into the face of the human. In that instant, something miraculous happened. The power of the light, the divine spark that Yaldabaoth had unknowingly stolen from Sophia, passed out of him and into the human. The man, Adam, opened his eyes, and when he stood up, he was greater than his creators. He carried the spark of the pleroma, the spirit of the true monad, within him. The Archons were terrified. They saw that this creature, this lowly human made of mud, shone with a light that was brighter than their own. He possessed an intelligence and a creativity that they lacked. In their jealousy and fear, they cast him down into the lowest region of matter. They created a heavier body for him, a body of flesh, blood, and bone. This body is the prison of the soul. They created the Garden of Eden, not as a paradise, but as a golden cage to keep Adam distracted and ignorant of his true power. This brings us to the figure of the serpent in the garden. In traditional religion, the serpent is the enemy, the deceiver. But in many Gnostic traditions, the serpent is the liberator. Some texts identify the serpent as a manifestation of Sophia herself, or of the Christ Spirit, sent to give Adam and Eve the fruit of Gnosis, the knowledge of who they truly are. The command, "Do not eat from the tree of knowledge," was not a command of protection. It was a command of control. The Demiurge did not want his prisoners to wake up. He wanted them to remain as slaves, worshiping him, feeding his ego, forever forgetful of the high realm from which they came. When Eve took the fruit and ate, and gave it to Adam, their eyes were opened. They did not discover sin. They discovered truth. They realized that the God who walked in the garden was not the true God, but a tyrant. This act of rebellion was the first step on the path of Gnosis, but the Archons struck back. They cast Adam and Eve into the dense world of suffering, creating the cycle of birth and death, dragging a veil over their minds so thick that humanity would forget its divine origin for thousands of years. But the story does not end there. The spark of light, though buried deep beneath layers of flesh and dogma, can never be extinguished. Throughout history, messengers have been sent from the Pleroma to remind us. Among these messengers and forgotten figures, there is one who stands out for her fierce resistance against the Archons. Her name is Noria. She is often described as the daughter of Eve, the younger sister of Seth. Noria is the archetype of the uncorrupted soul. In the text known as the Hypostasis of the Archons, Noria is approached by the corrupt rulers who try to seduce and dominate her, just as they had dominated Eve. But Noria is different. She possesses Gnosis. She looks at the Archons with fire in her eyes and declares, "You are the rulers of darkness. You are accursed, and you did not know my mother. Instead, it was your female counterpart that you knew, for I am not your descendant. Rather, it is from the world above that I am come." Noria breathed into the face of the Archon and burned him with her breath. She called out to the true God, the Monad, for help. And down from the heavens came the great angel Elilith, an illuminator, who stood before the Archons and terrified them with his brilliance. Elilith revealed to Noria the secret history of the universe, assuring her that the days of the Archons are numbered and that the children of light will eventually triumph. Noria represents you. She represents the part of you that refuses to submit to the senseless suffering of this world. She is the voice inside you that says no when the world tells you to bow down to unjust authority. She is the memory of the Pleroma that haunts your dreams. But there are other deities, strange and obscure, that populate this hidden cosmology. Have you heard of Sabaoth? Sabaoth is the son of Yaldabaoth, but unlike his father, Sabaoth possesses the capacity for repentance. When he heard the voice of Sophia and saw the light of the higher realms, he condemned his father's wickedness. He rejected the darkness and chose the light. Because of this act of conversion, Sophia and the higher powers lifted him up and placed him on a throne above the seven heavens of chaos. Sabaoth represents the possibility of redemption even for those born in darkness. He is the ruler of the eighth heaven, a borderland between the lower world of the Archons and the upper world of the Pleroma. He is the guardian of the gate, assisting souls who are trying to ascend. He proves that destiny is not fixed, that even within the machinery of the Matrix, one can choose to align with the truth. We must also speak of the luminaries. In the secret baptismal rituals of the Gnostics, specifically within the Scythian tradition, the soul invokes four great lights: Harmazel, Oroyal, Davatai, and Elia. These are not merely names, they are vibrational keys. Each luminary presides over a specific eon and holds a specific aspect of divine wisdom. Harmazel is the light of grace and truth. Oroyal is the light of afterthought and perception. Davatai is the light of understanding and love. Elilith is the light of perfection and peace. When the Gnostic initiate prepares for death or for the mystical ascent during life, they must memorize these names. They are The passwords. When the soul leaves the body and encounters the Archons who guard the planetary spheres, the soul must not tremble. The Archon will ask, "Who are you, and where do you come from?" The uninitiated soul, forgotten and confused, will stammer and be sent back to the cycle of reincarnation, fed back into the mouth of the Demiurge. But the Gnostic, the one who possesses the knowledge of the forgotten deities, will answer with power. They will say, "I am a child of the Father who is pre-existent. I derive from the Him who is pre-existent. I have come to see all things, both those which belong to me and those which belong to others, that I may return to my own origin." By speaking the names of the luminaries, by invoking the power of Barbelo and the monad, the Archons are paralyzed. The gate opens. The soul passes through the spheres of the moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, shedding the false skins of the ego at each stage, until it stands naked and pure before the entrance of the eighth heaven. But this knowledge is not just for the afterlife. It is a map for living now. We live in a world governed by the principles of the Archons: division, fear, scarcity, and materialism. The media, the endless wars, the obsession with the physical body. These are the mechanisms of Yaldabaoth to keep the divine spark asleep. To practice Gnosis is to engage in a quiet rebellion. It means recognizing that your true value does not come from what you own, what you look like, or how many people follow you. Those are the currencies of the Archons. Your true value comes from the fact that you carry a fragment of the monad within you. You are a sleeping god wrapped in mortal clay. This brings us to the most mysterious and perhaps the most practical of the Gnostic concepts, the bridal chamber. In the Gospel of Philip, there is much talk of the bridal chamber as the ultimate sacrament. This is not a physical marriage between a man and a woman. It is the internal reunion of the divided self. Remember how Sophia fell? She fell because she separated herself. She tried to create without her counterpart. The healing of this cosmic wound must happen inside each of us. We must reunite our conscious mind with our unconscious spirit. We must marry the masculine and feminine energies within our own souls. When this union occurs, we enter the bridal chamber. In this state, the Archons can no longer see us. We become invisible to the forces of fate. We step out of the cycle of karma and into the freedom of the spirit. The forgotten wisdom of these deities teaches us that we are strangers here. This world is an inn, a temporary lodging, not our home. The feeling of alienation you have felt your whole life, the feeling that you don't fit in, is not a symptom of illness. It is a symptom of health. It is your soul remembering where it came from. The figure of Hermes Trismegistus, though often associated with Hermeticism, walks hand in hand with these Gnostic truths. In the Nag Hammadi library, we find Hermetic texts alongside Gnostic ones, showing that the ancients saw these paths as brothers. Both teach us that the way out is not through blind faith in an external savior, but through direct, personal, experiential knowledge. Gnosis. As we traverse this landscape of forgotten gods, we must be careful. This knowledge is potent. It dissolves the foundations of ordinary reality. To realize that the god of this world might be an imposter is a terrifying thought for the ego, but a liberating one for the spirit. It explains why there is so much suffering. The world is not broken. It was made this way by a flawed architect. But you are not flawed. You are a pearl fallen into the mud. The mud does not diminish the value of the pearl. It only hides it. There are more names whispered in the corridors of time. Yule, the light of Epinoia, the four illuminators, the great Seth, the father of the immovable race. Each of these represents a frequency, a state of consciousness that is available to you right now. You do not need a priest to access them. You do not need a temple of stone. Your body is the temple, and your mind is the gateway. This journey is far from over. The layers of the onion are infinite. We have spoken of the monad, the light mother Barbelo, the tragic Sophia, and the arrogant Yaldabaoth. But how do we apply this in the chaos of the 21st century? How do we navigate the archontic systems of control that have evolved from stone tablets to digital algorithms? The ancient Gnostics saw the material world as a pneuma, an emptiness. Today, we fill that emptiness with noise, with distractions, with endless consumption. To walk the path of the Gnostic today is to embrace silence. It is to disconnect from the feed and reconnect with the source. It is to look into the eyes of another human being and see not a competitor, but another trapped spark of light, fighting the same battle as you. The wisdom of Noria teaches us resilience. The repentance of Sabaoth teaches us hope. The error of Sophia teaches us humility. And the silence of the monad teaches us peace. We are approaching the end of this first part of our revelation. The rabbit hole goes much deeper. We have yet to explore the specific techniques of the ascent, the secret sounds and vibrations used to unlock the chakras which correspond to the archontic spheres, and the forbidden history of how this knowledge was systematically hunted down by the Empire of Rome. If you have listened this far, you are part of the immovable race. You are the ones who remember. Do not let this knowledge fade. As soon as the video ends, carry it with you. Look at the moon tonight and see it not just as a rock in the sky, but as a station of the cosmos. Look at the sun and realize it is a veil for the true light of the pleroma. We will continue this journey. The Enchanted Archive has many rooms that have been sealed for centuries, and together we are breaking the seals one by one. We have looked into the abyss of the past, but now we must look at the present. We have named the Archons, the jailers of the soul, but simply knowing their names is not enough to open the cage. Knowledge without application is merely philosophy, but knowledge applied is magic. We left off standing at the threshold of the material world, realizing that the reality we inhabit is a construct, a shadow play designed to keep the divine spark in a state of slumber. But there is a figure that stands above the Archons, a figure often misunderstood, whose name was etched onto gemstones and amulets by the ancient seekers of power. That name is Abraxas. In the teachings of the great Gnostic master Basilides, Abraxas is not merely another god in the pantheon. He is the great Archon, but he is distinct from the blind arrogance of Yaldabaoth. The numerical value of his name in Greek adds up to 365, corresponding to the days of the year and the number of the heavens. Abraxas represents the totality of the cosmic cycle. He is depicted with the head of a rooster, the body of a human, and legs made of serpents. In one hand, he holds a shield, in the other, a whip. This imagery is terrifying to the uninitiated, but to the Gnostic, it is a code. The rooster is the bird of the dawn, the creature that announces the coming of the light. The rooster head signifies the awakening of the mind, the vigilance required to spot the illusions of the world. The serpent legs represent the earth, the grounded wisdom, and the nous, the intellect that can navigate the lower realms. The whip is the power to drive away the forces of darkness, and the shield is the protection of wisdom. Carl Jung, in his 7 Sermons to the Dead, spoke of Abraxas as a force that transcends the Christian duality of God and devil. Jung wrote that Abraxas is effect. Nothing stands opposed to him but the ineffective. He is the power of becoming, the energy of life that combines both light and shadow. To understand Abraxas is to understand that we cannot simply reject the world. We must master it. We must integrate the shadow. The Gnostic does not run from darkness. The Gnostic illuminates it until it ceases to be dark. But how do the forces of the Archons actually affect us today? They do not appear to us as monsters with the heads of donkeys or lions. They are far more subtle. The ancient texts speak of something called the Antimimon Pneuma, the Counterfeit Spirit. This is perhaps the most crucial concept for understanding the human condition. When the soul descends from the pleroma, it is pure. But as it passes through the planetary spheres guarded by the Archons, it accumulates layers. The Archons attach a parasitic energy to the soul, a counterfeit spirit that mimics our true nature. This counterfeit spirit is the seat of our lower desires, our irrational anger, our crippling fear, and our insatiable greed. It is the voice in your head that tells you that you are not enough, that you need to buy more, hate more, and fear more. Most people live their entire lives identifying with the counterfeit spirit. They think, I am angry, or I am depressed, or I am jealous. But the Gnostic knows the truth. You are not your anger. You are not your depression. These are the movements of the Antimimon Pneuma, the foreign installation, the software of the Archons running in the hardware of your mind. The goal of Gnosis is to distinguish the true self, the autogenes, from this counterfeit attachment. This is the great work. It requires a vigilance that is almost superhuman. It requires us to watch our thoughts like a hawk watching a field for mice. When a thought of self-destruction arises, the Gnostic asks, is this me, or is this the Archon speaking? By simply observing the thought without identifying with it, you begin to break the bond. You starve the parasite of its energy. This brings us to the ancient allegory known as the Hymn of the Pearl. It is a story told in the Acts of Thomas, and it perfectly encapsulates the journey of every soul watching this video. Listen closely, for this is your story. The hymn tells of a young prince who lived in the East, in a kingdom of light and peace. His parents, the king and queen, told him that he must go on a journey to Egypt. In the ancient world, Egypt was often a symbol for the material world, the land of the body and the grave. They told him he must go down to Egypt to retrieve a single pearl that was guarded by a loud, breathing serpent. The prince laid aside his robe of glory, his garment of light, and put on the clothes of the locals so that he would not be recognized. He traveled down, deep into the land of Egypt. He found the place where the serpent lay, and waited for it to sleep. But the locals, the inhabitants of the material world, saw that he was different. They offered him their food and their drink. Here's the tragedy. The prince ate their food, which was heavy and drugged. Upon eating it, he fell into a deep sleep. He forgot that he was a son of the king. He forgot about the pearl. He forgot why he had come. He began to serve the local king, thinking he was a slave of Egypt. This is the state of humanity. We have eaten the food of the world. We have consumed the propaganda, the fear, and the distractions, and we have forgotten our royal origin. We serve the economy. We serve the ego. We serve the opinions of others, forgetting the pearl of Gnosis. But the king and queen in the east did not forget their son. They sent a letter. The letter flew in the form of an eagle and landed beside the prince, turning into speech. It said, "Awake and rise up from your sleep and listen to the words of our letter. Remember that you are a son of kings. See the slavery whom you serve. Remember the pearl for which you were sent to Egypt." The prince heard the call. The sound of the letter resonated with the spark in his heart. He woke up. He remembered his lineage. He began to chant the names of his father and mother. He lulled the serpent to sleep with the sound of the truth, snatched the pearl, and stripped off the filthy clothes of Egypt. He began the journey back home, guided by the light of the letter. This video is that letter. The algorithm that brought you here is the eagle. You are the prince. The pearl is your own soul, trapped in the coils of the serpentine system of this world. The call has been sounded. The question is, will you go back to sleep, or will you seize the pearl? If this story resonates with the dormant memory in your blood, take a moment to like this video. It is a small signal to the universe that you are listening. And if you have not yet joined our Order of Seekers, subscribe now. We are building a library of the lost. Now, let us speak of the return. The Gnostics were very specific about what happens after death. They did not believe in a generic judgment day. They believed in a celestial examination. When you shed the physical body, your soul begins to rise. It encounters the toll houses, the checkpoints of the planetary spheres. At the sphere of the moon, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of growth and diminishing. At the sphere of Mercury, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of speech and cunning. At the sphere of Venus, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of desire and lust. At the sphere of the Sun, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of pride and command. At the sphere of Mars, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of anger and rashness. At the sphere of Jupiter, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of accumulation and wealth. And finally, at the sphere of Saturn, the great keeper of time and death, the Archon demands the surrender of the power of envy and falsehood. This is why the Gnostic practices detachment in life. If you are attached to your wealth when you die, the Archon of Jupiter will catch you. You will be too heavy to pass. If you are consumed by lust, the Archon of Venus will ensnare you. The ascent is a process of stripping naked. We must give back to the Archons what belongs to them, so that we can pass as pure spirit. Jesus, in the Gnostic texts, is not a sacrifice for sins. He is the breaker of the spheres. He descended from the pleroma, putting on the masks of the Archons as he came down, so they would not recognize him. He infiltrated the prison to leave the doors unlocked. He taught his disciples the passwords. He taught them that the kingdom of God is inside you, and it is outside you, of the Gospel of Thomas. But there is a feminine power that aids us in this ascent, a power we touched upon earlier, epinoia. In the Apocryphon of John, after Yaldabaoth breatheth the Spirit into Adam, the Divine Mother sent a helper to Adam. This helper is called the luminous epinoia. It is the power of imagination, insight, and creative thought. The Archons tried to capture epinoia. They tried to lock her in the body of Eve, but epinoia cannot be caught. She is the fluid, intuitive knowing that bypasses logic. When you have a sudden realization, a moment of déjà vu, a burst of creative inspiration that feels like it came from nowhere, that is epinoia. She is the spy of the light within the enemy's territory. Cultivating epinoia means trusting your intuition over your conditioning. It means valuing the imaginary as a gateway to the real. The Archons want you to be literal, linear, and logical, for they control the logic of this world, but they cannot control the dream. They cannot control the art that comes from the soul. This is why art, true art, is dangerous to the system. It awakens the epinoia. We must also address the concept of the alien God. In Gnosticism, the true God is often called the stranger or the alien. This is because he is alien to this fallen world, and by extension, we are aliens too. This is the source of the profound cosmic loneliness that so many sensitive souls feel. You feel like an alien because, in the most literal spiritual sense, you are one. You are a colonist of the light in a world of matter. Understanding this transforms your suffering into a mission. You are not here to get comfortable. You are here to infiltrate, to remember, and to leave. But while we are here, we have a duty. The Gnostics believed in the gathering of the sparks. Every time you help another person wake up, every time you choose love over fear, every time you create beauty in a world of ugliness, you are gathering the scattered sparks of Sophia. You are helping to heal the wound in the pleroma. The ancient Scythians believed that there are three types of humans: the hylix, or material ones, who are obsessed with the physical world and have no interest in the spirit. They are asleep. The psychics, or soulful ones, who have a mind and feelings and beliefs, but follow the dogma and the laws of the Creator God without questioning. They are dreaming. And the pneumatics, the spiritual ones, who possess the living spark and seek direct knowledge. They are awake. If you are watching this, you are likely pneumatic, or you are in the process of becoming one. But be warned, the path of the pneumatic is the hardest. The Archons do not bother the helix. They are already theirs. They do not worry much about the psychics. They are obedient sheep. But the pneumatic is a threat. The moment you begin to wake up, the system will try to push you back down. Distractions will increase. Obstacles will appear. This is not bad luck. This is resistance. And resistance is proof that you are moving in the right direction. We live in a time that the ancients would have recognized immediately. We live in a digital Pneuma, a void of information. The screens we stare into are the new mirrors of Yaldabaoth, projecting a false reality that demands our constant worship. The algorithms are the new Archons, feeding us loops of anger and desire to harvest our attention, which is our energy. To practice gnosis in the modern age is to reclaim your attention. It is to refuse to eat the food of Egypt. It is to guard the gates of your mind. Do not let the counterfeit spirit run the show. When you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone, before you engage with the matrix, take a moment to remember who you are. Recite the names of the luminaries. Call upon the invisible spirit. Establish your sovereignty. Say to yourself, I am a being of the pleroma. I am merely visiting this timeline. I will not be entangled by the drama of the Archons. The wisdom of the forgotten deities is not about worshiping new gods. It is about realizing that you are the one you have been waiting for. The deities, Barbelo, Sophia, Sabaoth, are mirrors of your own potential. They are the map of your own psychology. We are nearing the end of our transmission, but the work is just beginning. The knowledge of the Gnostics was forbidden because it is dangerous. It destroys the hierarchy. It tells you that you need no master, no priest, no intermediary. It tells you that the divine is closer to you than your own breath. As we close the book on these ancient secrets, ask yourself, what will you do with this pearl? Will you bury it again in the dust of daily routine? Or will you polish it until it shines like a star in the darkness? The choice is yours. The Archons are watching, but so are the eons. And the forces of light are far stronger than the forces of control, if only you remember to call upon them. If this knowledge has unlocked a door in your mind, if you feel the vibration of the truth, share this video with another seeker. The more sparks we gather, the brighter the light becomes. Subscribe to the Enchanted archive for more journeys into the forbidden. Until we meet again in the silence of the pleroma, remember, the world is a bridge. Pass over it, but do not build your house upon it. Wake up, Prince. Your journey home begins now.